The dog. If you look real close, you can see where the bayonet of the doughboy has been broken off again for the second time after it was replaced about a year and a half ago. This bandle's doing something they have no need to do.
Yeah, it is your first time here.
Yes. Well, that was wonderful. Yeah. Thank you for introducing it.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Have a good trip back.
Yes, yes.
When do you go back?
Sunday.
Sunday.
Yes.
Well, I'm going over next June.
Yes, come next year.
And I'll end up at Lexington.
Oh, Luxembourg. Yeah.
We stay with the family down.
To turn over to Neil Bonner, who's the commander officer of the military order of the World Wars. And he'll make a few announcements here, and we'll move on from there. Neil?
Well, this is a special...
No,
Can't hear.
can't hear. If nothing's on. Can't hear, Steve.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay,
It's on. That's all. My voice isn't as big as Steve. This is a very special day for me and for my friends and cousins from Germany. My two cousins, Ingrid Goldsberry and Karen Wolf Amos, have been here now 3 times. But this Gertrude, this is her first trip to America, and she wanted so much to come to America. That's all she's talked about since we met them about 5 years ago while I was doing some family search and found these people who are cousins from my line. My great-grandfather came here from a small village called Marienthal in 1850, and that's where Gertrude was living as a child and as a young adult. And it's a beautiful, picturesque village in rural Germany, not far from the French border in the Alsace area, and near Donnersberg. It's rolling hills and farmland, very picturesque. And so I can tell you that everybody in Rockenhausen, where she lives today, knows she is here in Lynchburg. And they probably know she's at Monument Terrace. But Gertrude had an idea. And I had the opportunity when I was at her home last September to talk to her about her memories of World War II and being liberated in 1945. She was 8 years old when the war began, and she was 14 when it ended. So I will relate just a couple of stories, a few stories that she told me, and they're heartwarming. And then I will explain especially why she is here today. When the Americans arrived, the Germans were frightened, of course. And she told me that her mother hid all of their food, which was home canned meat, in the woodpile because they were told that the Germans would eat their food.
The Americans would eat their food.
Americans would eat their food. Well, of course, quite the contrary. As they arrived, they had, you know the story, chocolate bars that they gave to all the children, and adults too, I think. And the chocolate bar was the great secret weapon of World War II. We've all heard the stories, I think, growing up about how the Allies made friends with the cities and countries that they liberated by handing out chocolate bars. But hearing it firsthand from Gertrude made the story real for me. Now these were Hershey bars. They were not the Hershey bars that you and I know, the milk chocolate, sweet, sugary, very tasty, melt in your mouth. They were made to survive. They were loaded with other ingredients. A lot of the sugar was taken out, and they were made to melt at 120 degrees, not 96 degrees. So they weren't all that tasty, but to the German children, it was good. And she says she will never forget that. One of the things that the Allies had to do, this was a small village, I said, of about 150 people at that time. They had to take a count of everyone, and the mayor gave one of the Americans, I think it was probably an NCO, because officers wouldn't do this kind of work, gave him a list of all the residents, and they went from door to door to count the residents. And when they came to her house, her father Jakob said, he was asked how many people, and he said there were 6. My wife Katerina and five daughters. That makes 7, doesn't it? Yeah. And he said, I only see 4 daughters. I want to see the other one. Well, her sister Betty was sick. She was upstairs in bed. And the soldier said, I must see her. And he did, and he saw that she was sick. The next day, he came to their house, and he had hot chocolate and chocolate bars to give to Betty. Now, Jakob was like a day laborer. This is farm country. The people lived in town, and their farms were outside of town, and he walked every day 2 miles to work on a farm. Now, this was in March of 1945. Sun rises late, sets early, so he would set off before sunrise in the morning to walk to the farm to work. He would labor all day, and he would walk home after dark at night. And when the American soldiers saw him walking into town after dark, they asked him why he was walking late at night. And he explained to them that he was just returning home from his work. The next morning there was a Jeep at his house. And every day from then on, the soldiers took him in their Jeep to his work, picked him up, and brought him home at night. These are great memories, and it really explains and demonstrates how welcome the Allies were, and how they allayed fears very simply with simple gifts and simple help and gestures. Now they set up a hospital in a school which was right next to Gertrude's house. Now, her husband, then 11 years old, lived in a town about 5 miles away, Brockenhausen. The house where Gertrude lives now was his childhood home. It was his parents' home. It was his grandparents' home. And she told him how at 11 years old, one day he stepped out onto the back stoop and looked out to their garden, and coming at him was a black soldier, armed. He had never seen a black man, and he was frightened, and he shrieked and screamed for his mother. And again, the soldier walked across the garden to him, handed him chocolate and chewing gum. That's how much these, what seems to us, small gestures meant to them. She tells other stories, very heartwarming. Just one I'll relate. Because her father worked for this farmer, every Christmas the farmer would give him a pig for his family. And they would keep the pig and then later slaughter it. But the pig became a pet, house pet really. And when they heard the bombing far off, they would head to their basement for shelter. And the pig, of course, went with them. They didn't want to lose the pig. So now, today, Gertrude comes to America. She remembers the kindness of those soldiers. I want to ask, can we get Frank Conte up front here, and Earl Washington, and Bill Sisk?
Come on up front.
Come on up, Frank.
Bill, Earl.
Come on up, Frank. Frank is a regular at Monument Terrace. So is Earl, so is Bill.
There you go. Turn around here. They're going to stay down here.
That's fine, that's fine. Now, Frank was in the Battle of the Bulge, and we all know about that one, Christmas 1944. And Frank may well have been one of those soldiers carrying chocolate. Yeah, he was. Now, Earl didn't carry chocolate. He was driving a deuce and a half for the Red Ball Express, and we all know what that was about. Very dangerous mission to move all of the supplies from the ports at Sherborne and Normandy sometimes through the German lines to the front lines of the American soldiers. Frank did a very, very dangerous mission, so Frank did not have time to carry chocolate bars. And Bill was a radio operator, a frontline observer for the artillery. Did you carry chocolate?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They came in the, that's right, the K rations. They were known as K rations. And so anyway, so now Gertrude would like to return the kindness that these Allied soldiers gave to her and her family by presenting them not with Hershey chocolate bars that melt at 120 degrees, but with some modern day, very, very nice, dark German chocolate. Gertrude, would you please give them some chocolate?
Thank you und danke. Thank you und danke.
We was only 4 years apart. He was 14 and I was 18.
Du warst 14, er war 18. Ja.
Gertrude does not speak English, but she has learned a wee bit, and she can say it in English or in German or any way she likes, but she has a word for everybody. Earl, and Frank, Bill.
Thank you, danke. Es war eine schwere Zeit. Für euch und für uns. Danke für alles.
I don't have to translate. All right. That concludes our little ceremony of recognition. I'm just so awed every week when I'm not here every week, but the many weeks that I'm here to see these gentlemen here, they just bring so much to us. And I thank you for your service, and it's so good to have you as part of our Monument Terrace family. All right, Steve.
Seeing these World War II vets down here every Friday is quite a tribute to what we do and support our troops rally. We got World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Cold War, even the younger vets show up too. Like we got David. Where you at, David? He just got back from Iraq and Afghanistan, so he's serving the country well. And it's always good to see people like that come down here to see what we do, and it's very nice. Now Gertrude, over the years, we've given these out to different World War II vets. This is a memento from us to you to remember what Lynchburg is about. So D-Day Memorial plaque. You're welcome, and it's something that I'm sure you remember Lynchburg about. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Now, Facebook is the new medium of communication, and these ladies over in Germany, they see down here every Friday what we do on Facebook.
Every Friday. Yes.
I'll make a few more comments before we secure for the evening, or for the day. As you see, the doughboy got his bayonet broke back here, and not only broke, but stolen. And as a veterans community, we're going to make a $1,000 reward for the return of the bayonet and the apprehension of the individuals involved. So we're going to get that back.